Massachusetts on May 1st, 2024.
Second.
Second, motion made and second, all in favor?
Aye.
So on the agenda, we have Village Market. Tricia, have you anything to say about Village Market?
Yes, so, on Monday, Jessica had sent out an email to the owner, at the request, I believe, of the town administrator to, just kind of give the owner another overview. In this email, she, states that, you know, she gives her all the list of violations, the 3-page violations that were initially presented to the board prior to that first permit hearing. And she also let her know about this meeting tonight here. And she let the owner know that the application is still lacking the vendor All Star Dairy, and asked her to kindly submit an application that will be maintained on file and reviewed by the board that will coincide with the plans for reopening with a complete vendor list. Jessica says, on my further review of the documents, it also appears that you haven't submitted what foods you are getting from which vendor, which was requested by the board in an email on April 10th and discussed at the meeting on April 24th. To expedite the process, please be sure all information on the application attached that you submitted is correct and accurate for the board to review on Wednesday. Since then, there has been no response to this. Today, I received a phone call on my personal cell phone from the state. I believe his name is Mark, I have it written down, from the Food Protection Program under DPH. Apparently, the owner of Village Market has contacted several departments within the state, Department of Public Health. So the consensus was, the short straw was drawn at the Food Protection Program, and he was asked to look into it, which is common practice, I should say, if there are complaints made from a citizen about food safety, there is the opportunity. Sometimes the state does get involved. So the conversation that I had was, pretty just an overview, and there's no investigation at this time. It was just looking for some information and some backstory. So that is bring you all up to speed on everything that happened today.
Okay, thank you. Hello, Village Market.
Hello. Hello.
My concerns are, food. What kind of food can be sold at this point in time? What do we have, what can sandwiches be made? If you're going to do something like that, then of course, you need a sanitation vessel. Evidently, the one that's being used now is down in the basement. And to install another one upstairs, there's nothing right in the vicinity of the area.
What's in the basement? We have a 3-bay sink in the kitchen.
In the kitchen. This is for the mop,
Oh.
clean the floor.
Okay.
That's in the basement, correct?
We have a sink down there, but I've spoken with several plumbers, and they're giving me outrageous quotes on installing one in the kitchen.
Right. From there, another one of my concerns is the application itself. The application itself lists places that don't deliver food. Our job as the Board of Health is to be able to track should any kind of food be bought that it's been diseased for some reason, so that's something wrong with it.
Okay.
So the only way to really track it is to have somebody deliver it to you, because they know they have all the records on where they got that beef and where they can, or whatever it is. and so we can track where that problem started.
Okay, we were told that we could use a thermal bag, that's called Keep It Cool, which we bought from Restaurant Depot, and that's used for transport.
On the application, if you feel you've got to go to that particular store, I don't want it on the application. I want the application to reflect and put down where that food came from on this application.
I did put where we buy our food on the
Yes.
application.
So with the place that you're saying, they don't deliver, you got a bag to pick it up, and it will be transported in some sort of transportation means, whether it's warm, cold, or whatever. I believe, do we know if something, it has to be delivered in order to track that food, correct? I mean, if you're gonna pick it up from if you run out of food, then they ain't gonna deliver until Tuesday, and of course, you can run down there on a Monday and go get it, a few things that you need until it's delivered. But on the application, I would prefer to see, just places that deliver and what you're having delivered from those places.
So you're saying that we can't transport in a Keep It Cool bag? That's what you're saying?
Correct.
Why?
Anything could happen. You could get a flat tire. You're on your way back to the store, you get a flat tire. You call up, let's say you got AAA, they go, yeah, we'll have a guy right there. 6 hours later, they're still not there, you're furious. The state police come in and they just tow it off the turnpike. Lots of things could happen, and lots of things could happen.
So getting the bag, as she had said that we could do, is not okay because there is a chance that I could break down.
That's my opinion. It's only my opinion at this point
It's
in time.
only your opinion.
Correct.
But those bags are meant for transporting from different stores to your establishment. It's all regulation, it's in the code, it's all acceptable. And if I keep a record of temperature from when I picked it up until when I get it back to my store, then that's acceptable. That's what Tricia had said.
Okay.
So what we need to do is create a written procedure for that to happen. And we have to have that procedure here,
Okay.
okay? So you have to write down who you're purchasing it from, what you're purchasing,
I purchased
Let
it
me
and I sent
finish.
it to you on the
Let me
list.
finish. Who you're purchasing from, what you're purchasing, item for item from that store.
Did you not get that list?
Will you let me finish?
Finish.
The
Please, go ahead.
procedure, the procedure to pick up where it is Restaurant Depot or wherever you're going. Item for item listed on that document, okay? Then your procedure for tracking it from point A to point B. Okay, how are you keeping that in control? That all has to be written out for us, so we have a written procedure we know that you're gonna be following.
Okay, so is this a procedure that you have every establishment do? Is this what is happening at every establishment?
Anybody that delivers, that picks up food has to be trained, not trained, but document from point A to point B.
But is that in effect
That's what the
currently?
Board of Health is requiring you to do.
But are the other establishments in the area that serve food doing that
If
currently?
they are picking up food, they are picking up food and they
Okay,
are
that's not
documenting.
true. I've seen many of the other establishments at Restaurant Depot in particular, and they don't even have a Keep It Cool bag. They don't.
Ma'am, we're trying to help you.
No, you're not trying to help me. Had you been able to help me, I would have already been open.
No, you wouldn't.
You went to my store 3 days in a row. 3 days in a row. You saw the clean atmosphere. You saw the changes that I made. But yet, you don't have a backbone to stand up here and say that I made improvements.
Oh, no,
You.
no.
You say that you're on the line for this? No, you're not. I'm on the line for this. This is my store. You come and go as you please. This
Your
is my
store.
livelihood.
your store,
Yes.
and your store is affecting the general public.
Okay, how many cases have anyone come in to say that they've been sick?
It
None.
doesn't matter.
None.
It doesn't matter, the potential is there.
Potential is there for every store.
Potential is there for every store, yes.
And I have followed
But you
all the
happen-
rules and everything that you have asked.
Your store happened to be the one that got
Happens to be
inspected.
the one, coincidentally.
That got inspected.
Yeah.
And how
And it's been
many
inspected since, and I've made every improvement, and I've changed everything
How
that
many
has been
times
requested
did I
of
go
me.
in there?
How many times?
Okay.
3.
3 times.
3 times, and it's
First time-
immaculate.
First time I went in there, okay, you were out of fire code. I helped you through that. Yes? No?
Yeah, I had Chief Lavoy come over, he's checked everything and inspected it, he's approved it.
Right?
So that was one issue. Go ahead, it was taken care of immediately.
Yes, it
Go ahead.
was. Yes, it was. Second time, that same time, I asked you to go through all the dry goods
And I did,
and take out all the expired
and I
stuff.
certainly did.
So you said you did. I came back the following Monday and re-inspected
And
your
you
store.
found mayonnaise.
I found mayonnaise. I found more than mayonnaise.
Everything is out. I have an app on my phone and on my computer that every item in our store, from candy to milk to whatever, even to the beer, is in here. I get a notification when it's about to expire. So that is null and void. It doesn't even have an issue anymore.
That's
Ma'am,
fine.
could you calm down, please?
I am calm.
That's fine. So what we have right now is, we're gonna answer your questions to this document. Okay, your application here, as you sent it to us, okay? So, the first one is, we need to, provide additional certified food protection manager and designate,
When I'm not there, my kitchen is closed. I spoke to Boston, the State House, and they said I don't have to have anyone else in there if my kitchen is closed.
If
And my
your
kitchen
kitchen's
will be
closed.
closed. Whenever I'm not there, my kitchen is
You don't
closed.
have to yell, we're 6 feet away from each other.
Apparently you don't understand when I speak in a rational
Apparently
voice.
You don't understand.
I fully understand what's going on in this board. I fully understand.
I'm sure
But
you
continue,
do.
continue.
I'm sure you do. Catering is not allowed. okay?
Why is that not allowed?
Because you don't meet the regulation for catering.
So what are the regulations?
I'm not going into that right now.
Because you don't know. Continue,
I'm not going into that
continue.
right now. Pest control contract is out of date.
Oh my God, I sent you an updated one.
It
I
says
get-
2021 on it.
That's when I signed up for it. I've had service every month since 2021. Every month I get an inspection.
Then produce an inspection.
I've sent you documents. How many more documents do you need?
Did they leave all those traps in their kitchen?
They leave traps everywhere, and I have them outside as well. All those traps,
Yeah. All those
Yeah.
things.
all of them. They come in and they do their job once a month.
And they should leave you a document,
They email me.
okay? This one is dated
I have been a
7/1/21.
customer since 7/21, correct.
And this is the
and
only
every-
document that you have?
I was asked to send you contracts. That's what I sent you.
Do you have any recent ones?
When she came on the last visit, I showed her a recent one. I had an inspection the day before you came. March 28th, I had an inspection.
Do you have the record for it?
Yeah, I do it right there.
I don't wanna touch that phone, can you have it printed out?
Oh my God. I'll show you the date. March 27th, 2024. Modern Pest Services. And they were
Okay.
here,
That's Modern Pest Services. This is
It's-
accurate.
this is who bought them. It's the same company.
Doesn't matter. This is telling us something different.
Oh my God.
They don't want you in business for some reason.
No. As we continue down,
They don't want you in
you're having
business.
quotes for a,
Here you go. It says, this is confirmation that you have had an ongoing pest control service since July 2021 with Modern Pest Services, formerly known as Ecosystem Pest Management.
Okay,
How much more do you need?
that's what we need.
Okay, I've sent you things.
That's not that.
That is my original contract.
That is your original
I was
contract.
told I needed to send you all my contracts. This is what they sent.
That's not that.
This, you asked for original contracts. I've
I
been a
didn't ask for
customer
anything.
since, whoever asked. I have been a customer since 2021. This company bought that company. Continue, please.
Your grease system is being quoted for the kitchen sink,
Yeah.
back to 3-base sink.
Yeah.
Okay. Purveyors do not deliver, only Capital Candy delivers currently, correct?
Capital Candy delivers. I pick up from Restaurant Depot.
Right, I'm saying purveyors don't deliver. The only one that delivers right now is Capital Candy.
And All Star Dairy.
All Star Dairy is not on this application.
It is on the application.
No written procedures for protection from contamination and maintaining appropriate temperatures during transport. You must provide that document.
Well, I haven't had to do any transport yet.
Right, but you
So,
still
and I
have to
agreed
have a
to do
procedure.
that, and I agreed to have a log, I have the cool packs, I have the thermometers, and I have the temperature logs ready.
So we need a written procedure.
And it's him anyway.
Purveyors must have wholesale licenses, and we need to see copies of the licenses.
I need to get licenses from Restaurant Depot, from All Star, I
You're
have to get theirs.
wholesale purveyors. They have to be licensed, okay? Licensing is so that we can track.
I hope all of this is going to be sent to me written.
Yeah.
I really hope so.
Products purchased must include a list of ingredients attached to the products per FMSA. Okay. Written procedure for washing vegetables must be provided to Board of Health, include name and type of antimicrobial produce wash used, procedure for eliminating barehanded handling of fruits, vegetables, and leafy greens.
I included that.
Where,
And we have gloves, we don't bare hand any of it.
I'm not saying you do, I'm saying you have to have a written procedure that states what you're doing, how you're handling it.
I have a written procedure on how we handle it in the email that I sent you.
It's saying that you use soap.
We can use water, we can use vinegar, and we can also use a chemical. That's what we
Right.
are permitted to
So
do, and
put
that's
it
what's in the
into-
codes.
That's right, but put it into a procedure, a written procedure. Written procedure on how often items are being purchased, delivered, and rotated. You must produce a list of items that you label and provide samples of printed labels with all required information. So the prepackaged things that you do, or the sandwiches and everything that you make and you label, you have to have the labels and you has to have all the required information on it. No food beyond what has been submitted will be allowed to be sold, served, or prepared without prior approval from the Board of Health. All the other items on the list for number 3 are to be determined at final inspection. Observation of the sink in the basement, the mop sink that's gonna be used or potentially be used. We have to see that. And written approval prior to final inspection from the fire department. We haven't had that yet.
Chief Lavoy told me that he spoke with her.
Spoke with her, but we have to have it in writing.
So I need to force him to write something for me, that's what you're saying? Because he said that he spoke with you, or spoke with her.
It still has to be in writing.
And on April 25th, I sent all of my vendors, including All Star. And I have been a customer of theirs since 2022. All Star Dairy. This is my contract. It's an application, that's all they accept. And on there, it states 4/23/22 is when I became a customer of theirs. I sent that to you on the 25th at 2:26 p.m.
This is the application that was submitted.
4/6/24. Okay, Warren Porter, this is the application right here, Capital Candy Company, Restaurant Depot, Sweet Life, Big Y, State Line chips only. There is no All-Star on here.
Okay, why don't you look back to the one that I sent you on the 25th? I have it updated. That was the one I sent you on the 6th. Yes, but I also sent you another one on the 25th since you didn't at the last meeting review that one.
Anyone in?
No, I'm looking.
That's 4/6.
I'm in the email right now, there's no attachment. If you'd like to view it, you can see it right here.
There's no other attachment over there?
Two emails on the 25th. One has these four, the application, and then this one is the answer. There's no update.
There's no updated one.
There's nothing here.
There is no updated one. We don't have an updated copy. All we have is this one from 4/6. So what we need is a complete application with everything that needs to be on it, the written procedures, everything, so we can get this thing out and you opened up. Without the written documentation, we can't do anything.
It's funny how every time you change things, you've never said anything about written procedures, ever. This is the first that I'm hearing of this.
How
You
can
all
I-
don't look at your emails until the time of the meeting. How is that helpful? You had to confer with her to see where emails were sent. Yeah. Do your job so I can do mine.
My job.
Yeah,
I
do
am
yours.
doing mine.
Because you don't have a backbone.
Okay.
You can't stand up for anything that you saw at my store. And you know damn well that that place is immaculate. Immaculate. That was the first violation. I've corrected everything since then. Everything. So, you know what? Do whatever you're going to do. Send it to me in an email. Because I will send it down to Boston and hand to my attorney. Because with you is going nowhere. I'm done. Do whatever the fuck you want. I'm done. Let's go.
Okay.
I'm fine.
Okay.
So what do you wanna do?
Just that, wait for this new application to come in. I'm hot and heavy on the fact that, all those the list of food that you're going to get from each individual vendor isn't written on there. There's one about the 426, but there's nothing in there for 426, it's 416.
4/6 is what I got right
4/6,
here.
yeah, that's all there is. The whole new thing about, catering and bringing this food in from Chicopee. You never had that before, so only God knows what happened to that food on its way here. And
The food storage bags are fine to use transport from point A to point B as long as it's tracked. So there should be a written procedure in place, it tracks,
There you go.
pick it up, you get to the store, it's tracked from the temperature here to temperature here when it gets in the fridge. Okay? That's what has to be documented.
looking at the big overall picture again for food delivered, then I feel on that application should be the only thing. If she wants to go there at another point in time because she needs to get something, fine, but don't put it on that application that's gonna sit in that file cabinet so that the state can come in here and go, look, you shouldn't have this, or would that be allowable?
They wouldn't technically, you have the authority as the Board of Health to approve or deny vendors.
Basically, the
but-
state program is to back us up, we have the authority in town to do what we need to do.
Okay.
And if you, my professional opinion remains that food safety has not been a priority for this establishment, as evidenced in that original inspection.
And you were
Yes,
there.
things have been corrected, reactively, not proactively. So for you to be asking for documented procedures and plans and things like that, or and being more strict at this time, we can certainly, you have every right to back off from that as you move forward, but in order to reopen this establishment, I don't think any reasonable person would say that you're being unfair or unreasonable. This is, your job is not to protect a business owner, your job is to protect the
The
public.
public.
And this is the town of
Yeah.
Warren that you are protecting, so,
Right.
an individual in town may have every issue or problem or complaint, which this person does. Your job is to protect the public. That's what you've hired me for. I think we're all on the same page here, right now.
Yeah. And then
I'm
go
off my
forward.
soapbox.
So going forward, what we need to do is put together a document that says you need to do A, B, C, D, E, F, G. Bullet point.
And what are we gonna do about this mop and a sanitation of that kitchen? She's gotta go all the way downstairs with this.
It doesn't
thing.
make sense, right?
It's bothering the shit out of me.
So this is where, so on a typical situation like this, we would have someone who wants to
Excuse me.
be compliant, and I hate to use that term because compliance infers a power struggle or whatever. But a typical business owner wants to do the right thing and they want to serve safe foods and they wanna do everything right. It doesn't feel, in my opinion, that this business owner has food safety as a priority, and instead has been very difficult at every request of you.
Very, very
Um,
difficult.
I just wanna reiterate, I have not granted any approvals that are not within my authority to do, including that keep it cool bag. I haven't granted anything, and I've had witnesses with me 99% of the time at that establishment.
But I think just mentioning it, she takes it to the next level.
Yes.
If you just say, well, maybe a cool bag, maybe this, maybe that, then she's saying, well, that's what you said I can do, and that's what I'm gonna do.
She had asked me about it, and I can't remember which of the two of you were with me at that particular inspection, but had asked about it, and I said, listen, if I were the business owner here, looking to reopen my establishment, I would be presenting to the board my plans for how I'm keeping the foods safe during transportation, such as what temperature it is when when it leaves the store, how long it's been in my vehicle, and what temperature it is when I bring it into the store and receive that product at my establishment. That's what I would do as a business owner. So I think that that was misconstrued somehow as me giving her approval, which was not the case. That's part of my education and best practices conversations that you have all been witness to. I don't know how to make this any more clear. This has never been a personal attack. I don't feel that any of you or you as a group have done anything improper or asked anything above and beyond, so I don't know what else to do. If it,
And just so you're clear, the local board of health can go above and beyond the state regulations,
Okay, modify them any way you want,
as long as you don't still go lower than
go lower.
the state requirements.
Okay,
and
cool. Just to add to all of that, look at the time that we were down there together, and, there was Mom, she was out there in that kitchen with that Irish meal out there, sitting out there, that it was cold to the touch. This kitchen just didn't go poof into a mess.
Well,
It was
two days
months,
ago.
it was
This was more than months.
maybe even years, you're right, maybe even years. So this wasn't something that because of an emergency, things were, misconstrued,
Well,
oh,
that's
that was
what
a.
she is stating, that, oh, my kid
Stating,
was sick.
she's
da, da, da,
screaming
da.
her back end off over, absolutely, yeah.
Well, not only that,
So,
she's had 6 weeks
yeah,
to bring that building into compliance with state law.
right, yeah.
And really, our Board of Health doesn't have regulations above that of the state law. We're just enforcing what the state tells
Well, the
us.
state law doesn't require you to have written procedures.
Yeah, what there?
The state law does not require you to have a written procedure. Okay? But whereas there's a history there,
And that's what we have a history here that, and it's just a written procedure, right down so that we can look at it and go, okay,
this is what I'm gonna do, A, B, C, and D.
exactly.
It's not rocket science.
Exactly. So, let's not argue every point, and you just do it so that we have it to put it in our files and boom, you meet the criteria, bada bing, bada boom.
Yeah.
Instead, we're just going to go up in arms, call this person, get this person, we're trying to keep, I'm not trying to put her out of business. Again, we just don't want people getting sick, that's our job. And, for some reason, it doesn't hit home, I don't understand. These things that are being sent to us, we don't have.
I don't think that she's ever run her own business before.
No, yeah, Joe, I can't believe that there is a pest company out there that's going to put traps in a kitchen.
No, not in a food establishment,
But
no.
in the area where you're going, and they've been taking care of us since 2021. You mean to tell me they put those traps? That ain't gonna happen, forget about it.
I have one sticky trap that's under my sink between the 2 pipes.
if I could just interject on that, the sticky traps, they are commonly seen. It depends on the scope of service, and I believe the scope of service for her is, sugar ants and roaches and maybe another flying insect. So the scope of service is very narrow, which we don't set any requirements for what pests, we just wanna know what the scope of service is, so that we know what they're checking for.
Tell me something, Trish,
Yeah.
if you walked into a restaurant and there was one of those fly strips hanging
So
from
fly
the.
strips are different.
Okay,
Because
so
that-
her regular coverage, her regular.
Would you eat at that restaurant?
So those are not allowed because of
Yeah.
the risk of physical contamination. So they're not allowed over food handling or food preparation or service areas. They could
Sticky
be
traps
in a-
are allowed
Sticky
in
traps
the kitchens.
would be allowed, yes.
Sticky, I don't believe it was a sticky trap, I know what a sticky trap looks
Yeah.
like,
Okay,
that
so
wasn't a sticky trap.
her service, according to Accurate, house ants, mice, rats, German roaches.
German.
German
Weapons
cockroaches.
of each.
I speak the Deutsch. Nimm
So,
This is a tough one. I mean, it really shouldn't be this tough. I mean, you got the book, you got people telling you what to do, but yet you wanna just
Fight every step of the way.
fight every
and
step
it's
of the way.
not that, it's not that you guys have changed, at least in my perception, I don't believe you guys have, or that I have changed our direction or made additional requirements. It's based on the information you've given us so far. These are additional questions that we have based on that information, which is, anytime you submit, any plan review that I have ever done, I don't just either approve it or deny it, there are always going to be questions. Because that's your job. You're
And I get,
permitting.
you know, working with the federal government and everything, OSHA and MSHA, right? I submit a training plan, I submit a job site work plan and stuff like that. It's coming back
Yeah.
with questions. Okay, this wasn't, I mean, I just did a pre-qualification today, okay? And I thought I had everything that needed to be there. And they came back and says, well, it doesn't say this, it doesn't say that, then this is, okay, so now I gotta remodify it to say this, this, and this, send it off again, no big deal.
I really thought, I pulled this meeting together to get her online, and I thought she would be open for what's happening, but everything just turned into be an argument.
Well, she came in.
I almost
here
want to
and-
apologize for bringing this together, because that's, I really thought that we could go, well, look, I talked to the plumber said this and that, and we would be looking at plumbing issues on what has to be done in order to produce some kind of food. What, you know, maybe, okay, maybe pizza, if we're going to sell pizza, then, put that hood fin, get that hood fin up there, bada bing, bada boom.
To be honest with you, the back half of the store isn't gonna reopen until there is a hood in place, until there is a grease trap in place, until the plumbing is fixed. That plumbing system isn't even vented. So it was
Right,
put in there under the radar to begin with.
I can't even believe it works, that there's a reason why something flushes, that water goes into the sewer system. If it didn't, it would cause a suction and,
Well, they've had plumbers in there before backing everything up in the kitchen, and it's because they're dumping grease everywhere unless where it should be.
So, just to add, if you don't mind my interjection, I would recall that information when it comes time to review the procedures for produce wash, because if there's no air gap, then there's a potential for
There
a
has to be
backup.
backflow preventers in place and all of that stuff,
There's a
and
lot.
there's nothing.
We don't want
She
food.
can't afford to do that.
and you know, that grease trap, under the same grease trap, is going to be coming in at like holding 40 pounds of grease. So somewhere in there, this company is gonna get in here with this hose and suck out that 40 pounds of grease. This isn't something that you're gonna dip in a bucket and pull it out and put it into this container, because now it comes into two different colors. We're talking about from the.
We're talking about a steel tank with bathrooms inside of it, the water comes in one side, goes out the other side, there's a
You know,
settling
solids.
time in between where the grease and all the fats and everything float to the surface and the water drains out.
Right.
That's gonna build up inside, then it has to come, somebody has to come in and clean it out.
Right. This isn't gonna be one of those things, like I say, you're gonna put it in a bucket or it's a tray in there, you take it out and,
Right,
you know,
but,
get rid of
you
it.
know, what the volume that store does, and I don't think it's a lot of volume.
But
It's gonna
it's-
be a relatively small grease trap,
It's the size of the sinks, and they gotta put in the whole size of the sinks.
I know that,
So all three
but
of
it's
those
relatively a small one, it's not a big one like I've seen in other.
other places,
We
yeah.
built one for emergency management, the kitchen down there, and this thing was massive, it was half the kitchen in grease trap.
Like, so that 40 pounds, I can't imagine, that's 40 pounds of something solid as opposed to 40 pounds, even it's 40 pounds of liquid grease. Water is like, what, 7.5 pounds a gallon?
8 pounds.
I'll put on my orthopedic
Look at you
shoes, I
guys
stand
go.
corrected.
8.2 to be exact.
Well, I was close. And so, you know, you're looking at let's just go with 8, 320 pounds of, you ain't gonna lift that, that's gotta get out of there. How you
It's
gonna,
gonna have to be pumped out.
it's gotta be pumped out. You know, somewhere,
And you're gonna have a service to do it. You know, you're not gonna have the local plumber.
Cryolators have to be clean, they have to be filtered on a regular basis.
Yep,
You can't just keep that grease in there.
you have to dump, it every
You
day.
have to have a range hood that covers all the cooking surfaces. And it's gotta be vented to the outside, not in the building.
Yeah,
there's gonna be a vent on that, to go outside on that, vent, the hood vent,
Yep.
you know, with the fan, going out there, and then
And then it has to be rated attached to an answer system, so if there's a fire, that thing automatically trips and puts it out.
Yeah.
So it's not just a hood.
So basically, all she's got, or all she could do would be to sell, you know, quarter pound of ham, half pound of ham from out of that,
Sandwiches.
Yeah.
and sandwiches. But now it brings up, where is the making for this table? Did anybody see a table where these sandwiches could be made?
And you saw, when you were there the first time, how the food was kept in the fridge. I mean, the pictures show that the meat was unwrapped, it wasn't, you know, it wasn't properly stored, nothing was properly stored.
No, no.
If I could interject again, please, please keep in mind that the date that she submitted the application, that we received that application, that deficient application, nonetheless, that starts that 30 days to review it, and within those 30 days, the board has to either approve it or deny it. If you choose to deny her application within those 30 days, she has to have written denial, and she has the right to a hearing. And then in addition, if you do not make any action, don't decide one way or another, then it's assumed that it's been approved.
So with that, then the only application we got is going back to 4/6.
Unless you, I mean, I would feel comfortable arguing in court that it's not a complete application and that the timeline does not begin until we've received a complete application. But with her threats of attorneys and all this other, I don't know how you all feel, but I think you should come together and make a decision on what's our final date. At what point do we start this clock or stop it?
Monday. Monday, I would,
Has to be Monday.
huh?
Has to be Monday, May 6th.
Yeah, has to be Monday. Getting off on another thing here, you know, and the other thing is she's showing us this, I'm gonna skip here on something else, bounce around. With this particular pest control service agreement, look, they special instructions on what they did. Interlock to exterior rodent, things here, service, right? And, every service, and you know, anytime you write up an invoice or what you did, you've gotta get creative, you gotta become a Picasso with words.
Oh,
You know, cause there's bosses out there that just ain't gonna, oh, I went there and cleaned up the radio, it works now. What did you do to it?
Yeah.
I wanted broken down to component level. I wanna know how much you did here, when did you go to the bathroom and everything else. She wasn't showing us that on it, I wasn't gonna touch that phone. But I want one of these, I want an invoice, you know. Did anybody say anything like that? No. So this goes back to 2021, and now she's saying, well, where's all the ones that you had in between? If you had them done once.
All this shows me is 21.
Yeah.
That's the starting date of the contract. But you would
How do I
assume
know
that,
that's still in effect?
you should assume that there's some one cent every month of what they did.
When they come for a visit, you leave it the receipt. Every year after that, there's a re-up.
I mean, if she's got
At least every year, yeah.
mice, rats, and cockroaches, well, we got a bigger problem down there.
And
I mean, you saw the reaction when, you know, when I pointed to the dry goods, and he says, you know, I came back, you said you went through everything, here I pull out 18 jars of expired mayonnaise. Well, yeah, just mayonnaise. I said, no, we went through the whole store, and I pulled out boxes of stuff that was all expired, that you already went through.
Oh, Tricia had containers there, that, she was just,
I know.
well, you know, all expiration dates on there and everything.
And we do have the right to embargo food if you think it's contaminated.
I mean, she doesn't seem to realize we're allowing her to run half her store under a half suspension.
But the front half is open, but, you know,
She has to make the improvements to get the back half open. improvements cost money. That's all there is to it.
So what kind of improvements would, I mean, there's no table to even make these sandwiches there. There was nothing there to make a sandwich. Did anybody see anything there to make a
Yeah.
sandwich?
There were prep tables underneath the fryolators, and then there was a prep table, so there's that L shape to the left just as you enter that kitchen, where the fryolator was, and then where the crock pots were full of corned beef
Fryolator.
dinners, and the
Yeah,
pizza oven.
the pizza oven.
Fryolators, pizza oven are not allowed by the fire chief until that hood vent is installed. We've been told that the meat slicer that it was on
By
the
the
prep
sink.
table by the sink has been moved to perhaps where the crock pots were.
But
where
has it
crock
been
pot
cleaned?
was. What?
Has it been cleaned?
We'll observe that in the final inspection if we get there, and, so there would be prep areas perhaps, but we would have to observe that in the final inspection. So basically, and what she's not understanding, and I don't believe she has offered any of you the opportunity, or myself, the opportunity to speak to this, but we were looking for an application to be able to do an initial review, to be able to say, your vendors are approved, we're going to move forward with your pre-operational inspection. You know, you can now schedule a final inspection, and then at the final inspection, we will reopen you. And that hasn't,
why don't we
haven't
just
gotten there,
Thank you.
I'm sorry.
Why don't we just move, okay, why don't we just move into that, into the area where about this application that we've only got for 4-6, and, they don't meet our criteria. Denied. Does everybody agree on that by any chance?
Well, you'd have to make a motion for that.
Okay. Let me just find it, make sure we're okay here on that. What the hell is this? And how about even, garbage haulers,
She has those lined up,
does she?
yeah.
And for,
Dumpster and separate, away from the trash side of the house.
oh, for the,
Yeah, there's
apartments?
there's a Republic dumpster, just around the corner on, Central Street. I assume that's hers, cause it looks brand new.
I don't know what happened to that application.
Which one, this one?
The one you got over there, yes.
4-6?
4-6, yes, sir.
Which one, So if we're gonna do that, then we would have to list out why it's being denied.
Where do you wanna start?
Tricia, you got that pen?
Yes, and, there are administrative guidelines in the food code, if you'd like to reference those, do you need a pen?
No, which one?
Yeah. Okay, thanks.
Then that kicks in hearing and everything else, she's allowed for a hearing and all that stuff.
Trish, have you ever heard of this? The question is type of sanitizer used for contact surfaces, for food contact surfaces. Skyline Professional Products?
I haven't heard of it, but, the brand doesn't matter, it's the chemical, the active ingredient is, and the reason for that question is twofold. For one, we wanna make sure that you're not mixing quats and chlorine, and for two, it's because, quaternary ammonium, iodine, and chlorine-based sanitizers are the only ones that are EPA registered as food service sanitizers. So basically, as part of our review, it's more to make sure that they're EPA registered and safe for use in food service. And, you know, that way there, we could also make sure that we have the proper testing, test strips as an inspector for inspecting that facility.
And then the other one is dish machine heat sanitizing or chemical sanitizing, and it's NA, not applicable. Even if you're doing it by hand, when,
So a dish machine is a little bit different because the requirements for a dish machine,
Require
whether it's,
temperature, heat.
yeah, it's either heat sanitizing or chemical sanitizing. We need to know so that when the inspector comes in, we know what we're dealing with.
Right.
And that way there, we can also reference the spec sheets for that equipment on the plan review, which have not been submitted, or would not, you know, she doesn't have one, but during the plan review, I would review the commercial or NSF or ANSI certification of that equipment, and then also make sure that it's appropriate for the use in that kitchen.
but the dishwashers nowadays, you just put cold water to them and they heat that water up. There's only one line that goes to a dishwater.
But there is a requirement in food service for sanitizing dish machines, so it's either heat sanitizing or chemical sanitizing. And we need to know that information before we need to know that information on the application, so that for me, if I'm a new inspector in town, never seen this establishment before, I need to have that information before going in on an inspection. But also, as the board, when you're permitting, you wanna make sure that it meets the minimum qualifications of the code, the minimum standards of the code. She doesn't have one, so it's a moot point on that application.
I used one when I was at the Roadway Inn years ago, and I believe it was chlorine. Because remember, you get your water going, you hit the button, and then you can actually get it going in.
So these are the application, denial for the application, your regulations or requirements. If an application for a permit to operate is denied, the regulatory authority shall provide the applicant with notice that includes specific reasons and code citations for the permit denial. Okay?
Okay.
Look at right on there. This is the code right here, this is what I'm reading right now.
Don't you wanna just go to Tricia's code thing? She's got all the codes of that,
Yeah, it's right.
you know, just copy them right down, and it's like, bada bing, bada boom, no?
It's right here.
There you go, there's all the codes right here.
Yeah.
But there's another one that's, all the codes, oh, this is it, okay, I got you, I remember now, I'm back.
This is the 590 regulations.
Tomorrow.
Okay. So at the time the permit is first, this is conditions of retention. We're not there yet.
So as far as the codes go, I mean, here they are, here's your list of them,
Yeah.
right here.
That's those
Yeah, they're all
violations that would
590s.
fall into that.
Okay, boom. Next,
Okay.
what was your next one?
Okay, that's the specific reasons and code citations for the permit denial.
There you go, yeah.
Well, not all of those, because she's done some of those.
But this is the for the denial of the application, so that obviously you wanna go through those for, I gotcha, I
You
understand.
may want to go into the section just slightly before that, that talks about what is required on an application, and talks about the 30 days to review. That may actually be the code that you can reference for this, because what you're actually doing is you're denying her application because it's deficient. She's not giving you the information you've requested, you're now coming up on that 30 days, so pursuant to that, this is the code reference. It may be easier and cleaner that way.
Yeah, that's cool.
Okay, this is what, existing establishment, permit renewal and change of ownership. Permit shall be made out in duplicate, one copy shall be given to the applicant, and a paper or electronic copy shall be placed on file with the Board of Health. Expiration renewal permit shall expire no later than 1 year from the day of issue. An annual food establishment permit may be renewed by applying at least 30 days prior to the expiration of the permit on a form provided by the FC Regulatory Authority. Conditions of issuance. Board of Health may renew a permit for an existing food establishment or may issue a permit to a new owner of an existing food establishment after a properly completed application is submitted, reviewed and approved, the fees are paid, and an inspection shows that the establishment is in compliance with 105 CMR 590. In the case of renewal application, the inspection must have been conducted within the time interval established by the Board of Health pursuant to 84110. Refusal to issue a permit, grounds, and notice of refusal. The Board of Health may refuse to issue a permit, initial or renewal based on one or more of the following grounds. Each of the following grounds individually and severally shall constitute full and adequate grounds to refuse to issue a permit. The notice of refusal shall provide the grounds upon which the denial is based and shall notify the applicant of the right to a hearing provided in 105 CMR 590-15B. Failure to submit a permit application in accordance with the Board of Health process procedures. Failure to submit the required permit fee. So we got number 1 already. Failure to submit a permit application in accordance with Board of Health procedures. Denial of entry agents on the Board of Health or department or any attempt to impede the work, no. Providing false or misleading statements to the Board of Health or the department.
Maybe.
Okay. The applicant or owner operated the facility without a permit, no. The applicant or owner, or if the applicant or owner is a corporation, corporate officer, or owner of the facility has been convicted, no. The applicant or owner, if the applicant is the owner, corporation, officer of the facility has engaged in conduct that endangers the public health, questionable. Failure to pay any federal, state, or local taxes. I don't know what the tax thing is on that yet. Failure to comply with local regulation ordinances related to the operation of the facility. Yeah.
Could you read that one again? Was it local
Failure
or?
to comply with local regulations and ordinances related to the operation of the facility.
I would say no, you don't have local regulations that she's violated. It's violations to the state sanitary code.
Okay. Failure to comply with provisions of 105 CMR 590.
Yep.
Yes. Such other reasons not stated in FC 8303.20D 1 through 10, which pose a risk to public health and safety. The potential is there.
I say she, just hasn't met the requirements of
1,
590 and
1 and 10 are the ones that I would say. Because 1 is failure to submit a permit application in accordance with the Board of Health procedures. 10 is failure to comply with provisions of 105 CMR 590.
Yeah.
Let's do this thing, let's make a copy of this, all right? And then just underline what you just discussed and what we picked out, what you picked out, and then give it to Jessica so that come Monday, she can put that whole thing together for us. Because I'll end up with a slightly shorthand by the time I was trying to keep up with
so
them.
I stopped taking minutes when it got very contentious and heated. I couldn't keep up. So is it possible for Jessica to review this recording and take minutes?
Yep.
Okay. I hate to put that on her, but
I'll get her a bag of popcorn,
Yeah,
find out whether
I'll-
she wants butter or what, I don't know.
okay.
Oh, I think we're gonna have to butter her up.
Yep. So we're gonna need a copy of that. Can we get a copy of that? Can we get a copy of that?
You have to pay for it,
How much?
$15.
Oh my God.
I'll tell you why later. I'm not supposed to be talking.
Well, the store owner's contentious remarks violated the municipal building's code of honor. And I kept my mouth shut about her disparaging, insulting
Thing
remarks.
ain't working, I'm just gonna take a picture of it and I'll print it at my job,
But that,
You can hang on to the book if you need to.
I don't need to, the phone, that's what the phone's for.
the remarks that she made may want to go before the Board of Selectmen for review.
The printer's not user friendly?
It's, saying it's low on memory and it's giving us problems.
You know, she was having trouble with it this afternoon too.
What was it? Mm-hmm.
Plus I have this already printed out at my office. I just forgot to take it out the front.
That's all, then we'll give it to Jessica and let her put that together in a nice formal letter.
Which has to go out Monday.
But I'm not accepting that application. There's the reasons. Thank you, Ken.
So that gives us, she's open up to that to request a hearing after that,
Yes.
within 10 days.
And we got all the pictures you took on that, on your first trip?
Everything is in the file and, so that I can work with Jessica on trying to organize this and
As soon
be
as she
prepared
hears
for a
one
hearing.
word that's negative, she just blows off everything else. She doesn't want to hear it.
Go on, yeah?
It's unfortunate that this board, since I was appointed August of last year, has had to deal with
That's Stacy.
Ken? Yeah.
rude people.
Me?
Yeah, I keep wanting to call you Val.
You can call me whatever.
Because there's a friend that I work with who runs a kitchen, her name is Val.
Okay, it's the first 3 letters of my last name, it's cool.
You know, when Jessica's in the answer, did you hear from Val today? So,
Will the board, I'm just asking questions because this is a first for me. Is the board willing to accept another application from this individual, or is that to be determined?
It's almost a yes, yes. Yes, you know, I would think that if someone's applying to open a business, what, so for the denial part, and go, no, we're not letting you put in another application, it's almost as if we're saying, no, we
no, we're
tried.
denying the first application because it didn't meet the requirements. Now, she goes to a hearing, and she has to have her say at the hearing, and then we tell her then at that hearing that you wanna apply for a new application, you can apply for a new application, but you have to follow the guidelines and submit everything that we list out, and give her a format. This is what you need to do, A, B, C, D, E, F, and G.
So that should be the first part of your question there. You can't say no, you gotta give everybody a chance, and, boom, after the hearing,
And if
Give her
she
another
has if she's got an attitude, then it's just,
what, you know, and then, and she, there is an attitude, there ain't no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Whether or not she wants this other one that she said she submitted, it's, you know, where's it
we
at?
don't have it.
We don't have it.
So I guess my suggestion or my train of thought here is that if if a new application is submitted, and it's going to be, it was hopefully being presented before you all tonight, but probably next week would be best, this new application, which it includes the plan review that we began a couple years back when I was here before. So my suggestion to the board would be preemptively, if this individual or owner wants to, or business wants to reapply, I would probably recuse myself completely and suggest another contractor or, and we can discuss that at that time, but I think that if there's another plan review, I would like to be as far removed from it as possible. And get a third party, or be involved and have a third party, which, whether the owner pays for it or whether the Board of Health pays for it is outside of me, but I would recommend a third party to do that plan review.
Understood. I'd like to make a motion to reject this application for Village Market.
Second.
Motion made in second, all in favor? Okay. So then, you're going to take a pic, you got a picture of
I
it?
got a picture, I'll print it out tomorrow.
Come for. Thank you.
Actually, I already have the code regulated, I'll just highlight it when I get it to my office.
You know, even this thing though, a contract, a service agreement, I would think a service agreement states from when to when. There's no when to when on here.
No,
This is almost just like an invoice for this person that came in here that particular day.
We can even send her the next application. Cause it also asks for the grease trap hauler.
yeah, but she can't go to that part of the store because she doesn't have the money to do that. That part of the store would have to remain closed, it would just be, the front part and sandwiches. That would be it, because the rest of it is not negligible, it's not negotiable.
And look at the, and people that make sandwiches, they're doing fine. You got that, who's that out there in Hadley there, that greenhouse out there? They make just cold sandwiches right off of their deli. Those sandwiches are delicious. And
Yes,
you got
if
the
you're
one in
doing it,
Ludlow.
if you're doing it the right way, but
You got the senior center that makes sandwiches too.
the other issue I have is because of the population in the area, and Tricia, you can jump in on this anytime you want if I'm out of line, and I don't think I will be, but 90% of the people that go over there are the elderly people. And the potential for them to get something from unclean surfaces is higher because their systems are compromised, immunocompromised, more so than yours or mine. So the potential is there. When I say potential to her tonight, every regulation that's out there that I know of, it deals on that word potential. If there's a
Exactly.
potential for this to happen, you have to have a policy and a procedure in effect to deal with it. If you don't, you're in violation, or you're in non-compliance.
Yeah.
Feel? One feel.
Oh, medical terms. Oh, look at that.
So,
Someone know about there. Who is that? I don't know, new application. Okay, right. This is the new one, right? From
no, that's a blank one.
When? Okay, anybody got anything else?
Did you want to discuss the fees and updated
Oh, yeah,
applications
forgot
for
about that.
renewals?
Yes, I did get a quick, and I might even have that somewhere. Those were pretty interesting, as a matter of fact.
You're not talking about the beaver trap and all that
No,
crap.
no, just food establishments.
That looks like this.
I apologize for any confusion on that, just for the food establishments.
Yeah, fee schedule.
Food fee suggestions. So food service, so we're just talking about,
So there's actually definitions in 105 CMR 590. For each of these, there's a whole section on permitting. And so I basically just took it straight from there. So food establishment is the umbrella definition. Food establishment has its own definition.
so that's $120.
Yeah, so food service would be anything that's preparing, unpackaging, repackaging, anything of that sort. Next to it, I put down masons. Those are just examples. So when we think of masons, it would be, that's certainly food service. The next one down, food service semi-annual, would be Breezelands. Things like that, where it's not, that establishment is not open year-round, so I wouldn't necessarily be able to go in there and maybe do the 2 inspections that are required. It would be maybe once. Retail food, and forgive me if I got the wrong establishment as an example here, because I can't remember which one only sells coffee. So it would be up to you if you wanted to call that one retail with coffee. Because of course in the permits, once we do a permit, you as the board can restrict, you can add additional restrictions or you know, what have you. So,
Retail food is your basic prepackaged from some,
prepackaged, not temperature controlled, not time and temperature control for safety
Dry
foods. Dry
Okay.
goods, yes.
okay, cereal,
So food service would actually include anything that's, any milk. So if you're only selling milk, that would be food service, because that's still time and temperature control for safety.
we sell, I don't think it's milk up there, but it would be, apple cider.
That would be time and temperature control for safety, yes.
Yeah, they have other stuff in that store that's time and temperature control too.
Yeah. But a much more limited inspection.
Right.
So basically, my suggestions here, and the fees, I'm not one way or another about fees, it makes no difference to me really, but if I'm looking at what I invoice the town for my hourly rate, and I assume 2 inspections a year, plus I assume that Jessica has some administrative duties for each permit, I think these are pretty much in line. I think these are pretty fair and equitable. You're certainly not out to make money, but you're looking to cover your costs, and I'm definitely, you know, there are definitely costs incurred. The
Residential kitchen,
So for cottage foods, that would be somebody who has a residential kitchen out of their home, which has a very limited, they're only allowed to do certain things, very, very limited things. No time and temperature control for safety foods, it's basically limited to baked goods, jellies, things like that. And then a residential kitchen for bed and breakfast, that's.
Continental breakfast only,
What's that?
continental breakfast only.
Mobile food would be if we have a food truck in town or a push cart that is located here in town. It's not for food trucks coming in from elsewhere, that would fall under a temporary permit, which is down below. Temporary food establishment would be $25 a day. Caterer, we didn't have we didn't have this before, so I'm suggesting it, and I'm suggesting as a fee, an additional $50 in addition to the food service permit
I
that
agree.
they would require, because a caterer, there's a little bit extra on for me as an inspector, and also for Jessica here, because Jessica is now, she's gonna be receiving any phone calls that might be going on, or, you know, hey, we're catering an event here, she might get those phone calls. Caterers that are located elsewhere, that are, you know, say that there's a caterer based out of Palmer and they're coming here to Laurel Ridge, say, to cater a wedding, they're just required to give us notification, they're not required to get a permit, so this would only be people who are catering from inside town. Soft serve ice cream machine, every other town that I've worked in has, either adds this to a permit, to an existing food service permit, or they have a separate one. And that's because this one requires the monthly testing to come into the office. So basically Jessica would be managing that, making sure we get that every month. And if there are any exceedances, she would send that over to me or any of you to, take the next enforcement action on it, which
Shut it
is
down.
not necessarily shut it down, but it needs to either be shut down or cleaned and retested within a certain amount of
Some
time.
people find it, to the extent where it's an overbearing service that they're offering, and they end up shutting it down.
Right,
altogether
it's, yeah.
Because there's so many issues with it,
Uh-huh.
so much sanitation needs to be performed.
And then the next one is the HACCP or variance review. So a variance needs to be reviewed by the board annually at permit time. So if anyone here in town is doing acidification of rice for sushi or bottling juices on site for individual retail sale at a later time, anything like this, anything that would require a variance or a HACCP review, I'm suggesting that you add that as an addition to their food service permit, because that's a lot of legwork on me, as your professional to review it, or for you guys to review it as well. It's a timely, time-consuming.
Rogers Farm.
We'll talk about that one at another time. I have some digging to do on that one, so, yeah, that's the whole raw milk thing and who's inspecting it and whatnot.
With
and-
cheese, they got cheese up there now.
Yeah, so I need to do some digging, and in fact, my
And
contact.
then don't forget, they got the beef, they're selling beef.
So the beef is not an issue for me, I've inspected that before because it is USDA inspected, it is packaged, kept frozen, maintained, so I do those
As
inspections.
long as everybody closes that refrigerator door.
Right,
Yeah.
my question is going to be, and I'm gonna reach back out to our new contact and buddy at Food Protection Program who contacted me today to ask about raw milk and where does that lie? I know that there's a division at the state that oversees that as well as ice cream, and I'm just not sure where the overlap is, so I will
It'd
look
be
into that.
interesting to find out as well is, at Breezeland's, whether or not that, apple cider, whether or not they're making it there or bringing it in from someplace.
And that's another one, I believe that definitely falls under good manufacturing practices, under the GMPs, which would go under a wholesale license. Again, that's another question, I've never heard of any town that's, I mean, you have the right to have a permit and oversee that and regulate it. You would have to have regulations in town that state that, which we don't presently have. But I can touch base with the Food Protection Program and ask some more deep dive questions on that too, if you'd like.
I
What-
believe they make it there.
Yeah, which is fair if they're being inspected by the state, which I believe that they do. We can dig into that at another
As well.
time. There's,
There's so
So-
much that goes into making apple cider. I used to work in
Yeah.
a cider mill,
yeah,
you know, and you know, the trucks that come in, all the apples are drops.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They don't use
Oh,
graded
picked off the
apples, they're all
tree, yeah.
drops that they pick up off the ground,
Yeah,
okay? And it comes into the dump truck and you dump it into the trough, and the trough runs through and it goes through a barrel wash and everything else. Goes up into a conveyor, and the one that I worked in, it was an old press, apple press, cider press, actual
Wow.
press, where it goes into a grinder machine, grinds up all the apples, and there's twigs, there's leaves, whatever is in it, okay? It all gets ground up together, and then it goes into it's like a giant press, okay? They lay the bottom on it with a big burlap pad, spray on this apple mixture, another pad of burlap, and they stack it up and stack it up. Then they lower the press and they press the whole thing to get the juice coming out, and it flows down through a machine into bottles and everything else so that and it automatically fills the bottles.
wow.
And it's a fun thing to see.
yeah.
I wonder if they do that over in California for the grapes to make, that 89-cent a bottle of wine.
So my suggestion is going to be that if that does fall under us and that's an inspection that I need to do, either the raw milk or the apple cider, that is a lengthy inspection, which is going to be far more expensive to the board, in which case I would highly recommend that that you all decide on maybe increasing the fees on that, but, I'm not suggesting that we mess with too much right now, I was basically just looking.
I
if we
think
could-
we need to do this, to stay in line with everybody else,
Yeah.
you know? I mean,
I'm make a motion, we accept this ski.
The town has
this
just
fee
gone up
schedule.
on all the other fees. They've already adjusted all the other fees for the building department and everybody else.
You agree with these fees then, Dan?
I do.
I do wanna just reiterate that I didn't spend much time on the fees portion of it, and I don't know what the requirements are if you need to look at other towns.
What I would like to do, well, that's what I was just gonna suggest, was I would like to do is just compare them to the other towns, because that's what they did with the other building department and everything else. They compared them apples to apples, to see where the rates fell.
So then we need to get this out by June
30th.
June 30th then.
It would probably be, it would absolutely be preferable to do it before then, because Jessica and I have been working on trying to get the applications for the permit renewals, and part of that involves telling people what they owe for fees, and what permits they're applying for, so if we could make a
And
motion
basically, we can just
there.
go online and download the fees for like Palmer, West Brookfield, or Monson, or whoever's around, take a look at them, compare them to where we are, and make an adjustment.
Yeah.
Not rocket science.
So our next meeting will be, I think, is the
15th?
15th. We can have that ready to rock and roll by then. No?
Yep.
Okay, cool. Awesome, then that's when we'll wait for that, Joe. We'll wait till the 15th, hey, we'll
Okay.
make that. Just in case we gotta change any of them.
And then the other item that Jessica was hoping that we could move on, and maybe this is another one for the 15th, but it's the renewals letter. And she and I worked to consolidate and refine the application for food establishments, which is here.
I already looked at the application.
Yeah, plan review.
Yep.
And just making sure that my adjustments had been made, so you guys have the updated version of it. I don't know what your thoughts are, if we can go ahead and start prepping those to get mailed out.
This is it right here.
Probably should.
This is it right here.
Ooh.
That's it right there. You probably do, it's in your file. We all got the same file.
Yeah.
We're doing a giddy up and go. Just so people know that most of the permits and applications you can get online on the Board of Health site.
I kinda like it.
It incorporates the plan review to a certain degree as well, which we have as a separate fee. So, yeah.
So, you know. So then, Village Market, they're going to be up So this would be the one that they would have to fill, well, whenever the time comes, they're
Yeah.
gonna fill this one out, this new application.
My only, and we were trying to consolidate this and maybe now that I'm thinking on it, the reason why we had it separated before was because there is a separate fee for a plan review. Let's just, for these purposes, for the renewals, I think the request is to have you guys decide if this is acceptable to send out for the renewals, and it's more to get as much information as we can. We have a lot of outdated files, there really wasn't much information that was gathered in the years past. There have been some businesses that have opened without much documentation. And I think that the plan was kind of, let's get everybody all on the same page, let's get all the same information for every establishment in town, so that you guys can all make the decision on whether or not to, or how to re-permit. And then I think that the next step would be, after we get through renewals, maybe take a look at pulling some of this out for the finalized application and plan review, or otherwise, my brain is mush right now, I apologize.
This helps a lot because it breaks it down to what we're asking for documentation on who your trash hauler is, who your grease hauler is, who your yellow grease hauler. Here it is right here in writing, fill those blanks in, as opposed to, giving us documentation and looking at that documentation, what does that mean then? This actually gives us the great criteria then. Because if you do all of that, and then especially with, do you receive foods from any other vendor, supplier, or purveyor? So it's like, that's almost a question like, so do you go anywhere to get food besides because the food you want aren't delivered? So then you're not, stranded with just foods to buy that get delivered. You can go someplace like Chicopee Restaurant, wholesalers, and go get it.
I think it gives you all, as members of the board, an opportunity to go into the files. It also gives any new inspector, I'm not going anywhere, but any new inspector who might come in, an opportunity to review the files and have all the same information, which isn't there right now. So,
I think this is a good jump off.
Go
And I
with
think
it.
we should, we should.
Go with it. Then we'll dump it into David's lap.
I love it. I was just, for some reason, that dishwashing machine, sanitizing or chemical, or heat sanitizing or chemical, I always thought they were both. I thought these dishwashers these days,
No,
why wouldn't you want that to do, wouldn't you want that dishwasher to wash it with some sort of dishwashing? And then, once it's all done and washed, then this heat comes on and sanitizes everything? Don't you want that to happen?
so there is hot water for the wash in either version.
Yeah.
It's just that the heat sanitizing, that heat sanitizing has to be a certain temperature at the manifold or a certain temperature at that plate level to effectively sanitize the equipment that's going through. Otherwise, you have sanitizers that are sanitizing, and the sanitizer has to be at the proper concentration for effective
typically your
sanitation.
sanitizer's gotta be around 170 degrees.
Okay, the sanitizer,
And then you get
that's the chemical.
but then you get a final rinse because you don't want the sanitizer.
No, it's air dry.
Oh, it's air dried?
Air
It's air
dry. That's whenever you open the door too soon and you get a couple of eyebrows that are missing after that. Cause then, that's the way that heat goes.
Yeah, the newer machines are all automated, so.
Yeah, this is great if you ask me. Oh, there's a good one though. if using a company to clean and service an ice machine, list name and telephone for the company.
Ice
What-
machines have their own, they have their own self-contained unit that have to be cleaned a certain way. And if you, and it's like every 6 months that they have to be cleaned.
No, we're not just talking some sort of like carbonated filter,
No.
active carbon filter in there that
No,
that water goes through
No.
and when the light comes on and you take the filter out and put in a new one?
No.
No. Okay,
there's a whole procedure to it.
okay. That ice machine down here don't have, is,
So there's different
how
types.
about the water? How about the water? How do you know where that water
The
came
water
from?
going in has to be filtered,
Yeah,
okay? The
Right.
filter has to be exposed so you can change it and see it, and you have to date from the time you put it in to the time you have to change it, and then it has to be recycled through. You have to do the ice machine, where the ice is made, that has to be taken out and cleaned, sterilized, the whole 9 yards. Then you have to come drop down into the bin has to be sterilized and cleaned, okay? You can't store anything inside the bin such as the scoops or any of that, they have to be stored on the outside in a covered compartment so that the scoop does not get contaminated with anything in the general immediate area around it, okay? The seal on the machine has to be cleaned on the door that opens up,
Yeah.
has to be cleaned and it has to seal.
and that's why we also asked, is it well water or town water?
So let's throw into this whole thing lead pipes. Maybe it's a lead pipe that's feeding it and now you got lead coming in out of there because it hasn't been used, it made ice all
And this is
weekend.
why there's a filter.
Yeah.
Pre-filtered before it goes into the machine.
Yeah,
I should hope nobody's still using lead pipes, but, well,
they're out there though, Joe, they're out there.
So,
I don't inspect to that level, I'll be honest with you, I don't have any equipment, it's not in the food code to go to that extreme. But if there is something that we become aware of, and it becomes a potential contaminant or an issue, that's when we
See,
dig
I
into
look
it.
at ice machines a lot because I've done inspections in the past. But ice machines can become a breeding ground for anything,
Sure.
okay? And you're not supposed to go in there and take your cup and scoop out the
No.
ice. You're not supposed to go in there and leave the ice scoop in the ice machine itself, okay? There's policies and procedures that have to be written out, and there's a whole cleaning procedure, step by step, that you have to do to keep that machine operational.
I mean, you don't leave the door open.
No.
Think of the Motel 6, and there's the ice machine, and everybody's got an ice bucket that they gotta go fill, and all those ice buckets, this is the third time, and where was it? You know, fell on the floor twice, and made that puddle of beer twice, and everything else.
That,
Go ahead.
I'm sorry to interrupt you, I see where you're going. You're diverging off of the commercial establishment.
Yeah.
So for a community use ice machine, there's a difference. Some onus has to be on the consumer of that product.
Really?
So the operator has to maintain the equipment in a clean and sanitary fashion as much as reasonably possible. But it's also on the consumer to weigh the risks for themselves. So if you don't want to get sick from dirty ice, then probably not the best thing to use a community ice machine. If we have an ice machine in a food establishment, a food service establishment,
It's under different,
different. So when I do hotel inspections, I do inspect the ice machines in the community areas, but it's more for sanitation. There's not the deep dive, it's questions of how often are these cleaned and sanitized, how often is somebody making sure that everything's maintained, and less of the, are there,
contrary to belief, ice machines, they grow mold.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure of it. I'm sure of it, coming off of,
You get that water that's running through, and it's not just running through copper tubing, it's going through plastic and everything else, and going through, and all that area inside the machine is what needs to be cleaned and sterilized because it does grow mold frequently,
well,
as well as the basin itself. And a basin has to be able to drain.
Yeah.
I mean, think about, you know, all the fishermen out there that dip their ice buckets in those things, and there you are, you're out there, you're gonna make yourself and your friend a cocktail, and you're gonna use that same ice that,
Your fish put in.
David, would you like to come up and say something?
I just had a question because you guys are talking about the filters
yeah?
for them, for the water. And what micron do you rate those filters at? Is it like a 3 micron or an 8 micron
It's point
for the
two,
particulates?
it's point two.
0.2? Okay.
You're gonna pay big bucks for that point too.
Not in the food code, what code is that for the,
That is, yeah, that was, what we had to put on the machines when we built the kitchen out at, down in Leominster. The plumbing inspector required a .2 filter on it,
okay, so plumbing.
Was that a
code
local,
local.
that was a local policy,
Yeah.
not an industry standard?
No, it basically goes by the type of water that you have. So, and it's an NSF filter.
Because it's something you might wanna put a bylaw in to say, okay, if you're gonna be serving water to the community, you need to have it filtered at this level.
Yeah,
You know, certain microns, and it has to be this type of filter, because it's just filters that will take out sediment, but it won't take out
Right.
something like, you know,
Chlorine.
other things that we should be more worried about. I don't mind drinking a little bit of dirt, it's the other things that can get in there that you really wanna clean, and the type of filters, because you can have, what's the light there, I'm thinking, infrared
Yeah.
filter, where it sterilizes the water as it goes through it too,
And a lot
so
of the
that's a
ice
whole
machines have
filtration
that on it.
system.
a lot of the ice machines have that, it's not an infrared type system, but it's a blue light system.
Mm.
And the blue light is a sanitizing.
Yep.
So they have, a lot of your newer ice machines are coming out with that built right into it.
They're even putting those on like koi ponds and goldfish ponds, and the water flows through that up to the,
Yep.
to the filter itself, so that it gets rid of that bad bacteria. And if I'm not mistaken, somehow it only gets rid of bad bacteria, all the good bacteria still
Right.
makes it past that light?
Yep.
Ultraviolet, it's not ultraviolet, I thought the word was ultraviolet for
Ultraviolet.
us. Ultraviolet? I can't imagine them putting them on a water treatment plant, that would have to be huge and
Select
possibly even
chairman.
cleaned,
Mm.
you know? And God forbid you wanna get a water treatment operator to clean something, that could be
Yeah, I
going
just
off.
done.
So we're good with this?
Yes. Yeah. I'm almost done. Using laundering company if there's a written policy to restrict or exclude food handlers from working in any operation. You know, absolutely. Is there a written policy for the cleanup of vomit and diarrhea? Maybe that's a little overboard?
It's in the
Not
code.
really, no, it is requirement, and there is also another requirement for, bloodborne pathogens.
No.
If you're in a,
So then the restaurant's got to have a body fluid kit on?
They need to have written procedures, so
Right.
oftentimes some health departments say, just have a spill kit, because the spill kits include the written procedures, but the code, as black and white as it is, the bare minimum standard is written procedures for the cleanup of vomit and diarrhea. And that's to minimize the risk or the spread of norovirus if someone has a vomit or diarrhea accident in the establishment.
and the other one is, oh yeah, it just blew my mind. God. I-
It's there, but it just
It just
don't wanna come out, does
Are you
it?
thinking
It
pathogen?
just went, huh?
Are you thinking pathogen or?
No.
Okay.
No, but it's just gone now, so.
So,
Okay.
you know, on the vomit side,
Kids vomit all the time.
But there is, if you're in a restaurant setting, you do have that, and this is not on ServSafe or on 590 or sanitary or anything like that. Under OSHA regulations, you do have to provide, if you have a kit in the house, and if you have people that you are assigning to train, to do cleanup and stuff like that, then they have to be trained to do that. And they have to be trained under bloodborne pathogens and another program to do that work. So it's
Puke
not
bags.
just,
I was thinking of puke bags, you know, like you
Yep.
do on an airplane in case you can't stand the height, you know, where all the airplane doing all the jiggling and everything else going through a storm, and you wanna puke and they got the bag right there for you, you know? And then for little kids, you can get little clowns on it and everything here, you know?
David.
Oh,
So, I got a little experience with the bloodborne pathogens. I was on a federal hazmat team, and we get certified annually in bloodborne pathogens because you may have to clean it up. And it's dealing with sharps and stuff, and I believe it's a CDC requirement to have bloodborne pathogen training, and it's how it would be cleaned up in dealing with knives in a kitchen environment. You could potentially get caught, expose others to an infectious disease if it's not properly cleaned or it's not adequately cleaned.
and that all falls under
There are
OSHA and
things,
CDC.
you got hepatitis, things like that, that could
And
expose
hepatitis is-
others to that situation.
That is addressed under
So-
the 410 sanitary code.
My only concern with putting anything outside of that is that our enforcement authority is limited to 590 on a
Right.
food establishment.
Yeah.
So if you have additional requirements, I would recommend that we get,
Bylaw.
Okay, planning board.
Well, that would be a Board of Health
That's right.
concern,
Okay.
and you would put an additional requirement in, you know, your permitting process, saying that all food establishments or anybody serving food, preparing food, would have a pre-prepared and established bloodborne pathogens kit.
And program.
And it has to, you gotta remember, the bleaches and stuff that are used, that could be used for cleanup, or some of the chemicals that you use for cleanup expire.
Yeah.
So you gotta make sure that those are properly labeled and those are still good, because it doesn't help you cleaning it up with something that no longer is
Yeah,
gonna.
typically it's a
Kill the
5% bleach
product.
solution in water.
so
And
my, sorry,
the, what's the lifespan of bleach? Shelf life?
Shelf life.
6 months
Maybe.
max.
deteriorates.
it still deteriorates
My,
considerably.
it does. My suggestion though is to walk this line very carefully because of what is allowed inside of a food service operation is different than what's allowed outside of one. So if we're setting requirements, we cannot have disinfectant level.
Right.
It's a fine line, and I think that's
Yeah.
why it's not in 590.
And it's not there, but what it does, like I said earlier, it does fall under OSHA regulations and CDC regulations. And that's different from where the food diverges away from that. So OSHA still covers the workplace, whether it be a restaurant or not, it's still part of that.
And there are effective cleaners that can kill a lot of that
Yep.
stuff that are food safe or around food safe that can be utilized. That's why you need to establish policy and probably an industrial hygienist to establish that and make sure that the proper things are being used in a safe manner. We always refer to industrial hygienists for
Yep.
filters and things like that, or cleaning products to make sure that it actually is gonna kill whatever we're dealing with.
Yeah.
So-
Cause you don't want the chef maybe, you know, cutting himself, and then gets blood on the knife, and then just takes it on his pants like that, and then continues to cut off the.
Wipe it on the apron,
You
like
know-
I'm gonna just use my apron, stop the bleeding, and then go about my business, and the knife is there, they wipe it off with the rag that's there. And they
That kinda makes me,
process
that
their
makes the
food.
hair on my back stand up
I
You just
thinking about.
contaminate one service after another.
After another, after another, after another.
I've seen it
So,
happen.
I know.
somewhere out there, at least thinking,
Yes.
you know, I know
I
you do
actually
this, you ain't
shut
gonna do
down,
this, but, so here's the policy, don't do
A
it.
place in the government, because they
So do
see,
you, so we're, if we make a
guy
motion
cut
here then
himself
to
with
accept
blood
this
all
application
over.
for permit to
and they
operate
just
a
took
food
paper towel,
establishment
wiped it up, and
in
they
great
started
detail here, I
preparing
think
food
it's
on it.
great.
And again,
And I
right
just
now,
happen
it's
to be
just
the guy
everybody
that's
on the
seen
same
it.
playing
Yeah,
board.
And I'm like,
Yeah.
Playing field, I should
Yeah.
say.
Stop.
Big time out.
you're all done.
Hey, don't leave it, I gotta talk to you.
So I make a motion to accept this application for a permit to operate a
I'm
food
up, you're up.
establishment.
Second?
Motion made and second, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much
Thank
for
you.
all your help.
Are we adjourned or?
Not yet,
Not yet, sorry,
no worries. Anybody got anything else?
Not right off the
I
bat.
make a motion to adjourn the Warren Board of Health meeting on May 1st at 19:45. Thank you.
Was that a good year?